Hey everyone, Brian Zane here with my review of AEW Dynamite for September 29th, 2021. And you know folks, it's been a long and frankly annoying as hell week without my glasses, but as someone once said, on this day, I see clearly. Of course, this week's Dynamite set in Rochester, New York, and dedicated to the hometown boy, Brodie Lee. Brodie was meant to debut on the Rochester show last year, but then of course the pandemic happened. He ended up debuting on that first Empty Daily's Place episode of Dynamite. And you know what? It's been more than 9 months since his passing. It's still really hard to believe that he's gone. And of course, AEW seems to have gone above and beyond in how they've treated Brodie Lee and his family in the wake of his passing, and setting up this John Hubert Legacy Foundation sounds like a real awesome move by AEW, and I'm sure Jay Biggs and I will be talking a bit more about that on the podcast to be dropping tomorrow, but a lot to talk about tonight. So without any further ado, let's begin. Like what you like, don't be a dick. We get Brodie chance to kick off the show. CM Punk joins commentary for the evening, and our opening match sees Jungle Boy taking on Adam Cole Bay of the Super Elite. This match was probably as good as you could have pictured with these two guys. It's great back and forth here. At one point, Jungle Boy, dodging a Panama Sunrise attempt on the outside, gets back in the ring, hits a step-up Hurricane Rana off the apron onto the floor. Incredible stuff here. Near the end, Cole gets in the referee's face, and that allows him to take Jungle Boy to Dick Kick City. Hits the last shot in order to win this very competitive match here. Great opener, like I said. Jungle Boy is one of those guys who's never going to not be over, I think, and so for him to lose to, Adam Cole, it's expected, but it's not a detriment to him, I don't think. Then after the match, the rest of the Super Elite show up to celebrate. We come back from commercial, and they're all in there for a promo. Carl Anderson starts things off, putting everybody over. Adam Cole says he is elite and undefeated. Brandon Cutler wants to say a word or two, but Nick Jackson cuts him off immediately, and they want to hand it over to the greatest promo man in the biz, Michael Nakazawa, but he's just drowned out by CM Punk chants. Then Kenny Omega talks about Bryan Danielson and puts over their great match they had last week and says everyone says this is one of the greatest matches AEW has ever had, but he doesn't really care about that, and he says that Danielson gave him his all and kicked him all over the place and kicked his head in, but at the end of the day, he could not get the job done when it counted. No rematch for you, Scooter. But then Bryan Danielson shows up and says, everybody wants me to have a rematch with you except for you. It looks like you have no balls, which then gets a Kenny No Balls chant started, and now Bryan Danielson says you are now Kenny No Balls Omega. I have a feeling the chant is going to stick, or they're going to turn it into a t-shirt like the announce team suggested. So basically, the Bryan then brings out Jurassic Express and Kazarian and Christian Cage, and they chase him out of the ring. Danielson did make a challenge to anyone in the Elite for a match on Rampage. Then they're like, what about tonight? And then all the heels run off, and we don't have a match tonight with Danielson, so we're going to have a match with Bryan and Nick Jackson this Friday. I thought the promo was all right, just the Super Elite being very, NWO-esque, with everyone getting a shot to talk and just kind of glad-handing and just being very much full of themselves. Danielson coming out to try and shut them down. Then the biggest takeaway from this is Kenny No Balls. I have a feeling that phrase is going to be very over. The Lucha Brothers are backstage being interviewed, but they're cut off by Andrade and his normally silent assistant, Silent No More, because he pipes in and says, it's been a long time since the Lucha Brothers have defended the AAA tag team titles. Andrade says he's got some friends who are willing to take it off Penta and Phoenix, but they say bring it on, we'll take on anyone. So whom could it be? Who could Andrade be bringing in the near future to challenge for those belts? Maybe it could be Andrade himself along with Chavo Guerrero. Who knows what Chavo's status is or why he wasn't there this week. But, the idea or the possibilities, the potential possibilities of who could challenge maybe somebody from AAA, maybe that forbidden door opens up a little bit more. We'll have to see. Dante Martin and Matt Sydal take on Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson up next. Now, I want to clarify something I said last week that got a few people responding to me. I wasn't necessarily surprised that Cody was getting booed last week. I was just surprised at how much he was getting booed. I guess considering Malachi Black is much more kind of beloved by the AEW fan base at the moment. The last couple weeks I'd seen Cody before I took a couple weeks off from watching Dynamite. The boos were there, but not necessarily that bad. But I guess, people be hating Cody more even now than before. So we'll see how that plays into this match. Dante continues to impress with his ridiculous agility. Lee Johnson takes a lot of the heat in this thing. He tags in Cody for the hot tag. He gets summarily booed for that. Dante kicks out of Cody's vertebreaker, and finally the match ends when Lee just kind of asserts himself, grabs Cody by the waist of his tights and tags himself in, hits a twisting fisherman's neckbreaker onto Dante to win the matchup, which I was honestly kind of shocked. Just looking at that on paper, there's no way that Cody is not picking up the Duke on this one, especially the night of debuting his new reality show, right? Then after the match, Cody's being interviewed and says he wants a piece of Malachi Black, but Arn Anderson tells him to stop talking and says he's very disappointed in Cody's performances the last couple of times Cody and Black faced off. How the last time he got whomped and he took his boots off when they hadn't discussed that. The second time Cody took his eye off the ball when he was trying to take care of Arn. Don't take care of me, he says. And then he says he would take the fight to Black himself, but he's too damn old. Then he makes this line here where he says, the difference between you and me, Cody, is that if somebody were I'm paraphrasing here, if somebody were carjacking us, you, Cody, would say, please take it, don't hurt me. But then Arn says, I would shoot that guy in the face with my Glock, and splatter his brains all over the place. Like, Jesus, everyone's getting edgier this week, it seems, in wrestling. So that was pretty shocking. And then he says he'll be damned if he's, coaching a loser. He and Lee just leave him, and Cody just stands there looking like a dork. Is this the beginning of a Cody Rhodes heel turn, or are they going to double down and just make him more noble, more of a fighter? I feel that this could go one of two ways, and I think there's only one real path. I don't even know what that path even looks like, but if there's a way to save Cody and get people to react to him in a way that is not counterintuitive, then maybe turning him heel is the answer. But I don't know what they're going to do with this. It's very curious right now. Cody's in a really weird place where I just, it's just, where does he fit into all these different storylines? I feel like everything going on in Dynamite right now and AEW to a greater extent is kind of happening with or without him. So I think Cody's at a real, for lack of a better term, he's at a real crossroads right now. Trios tag team match as Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, and Darby Allin take on Bear Country and a debuting Anthony Green. Great to see him back on TV. Of course, he was August Gray in NXT before he was released. I met Anthony several years ago in the Indies, and it's great to see him getting more time to shine on television. This was a very short and sweet match, though, and there was no doubt in anyone's mind who was going to win this thing. I don't remember much of what Bear Country did in this thing. The finish is where Green does a twisting cross body toward Moxley and Kingston, but he's just bricked by their sheer mass, and they take him out for the good guys to win, and then Sting, just the cherry on top, hits Anthony with a scorpion death drop afterward. Again, was there any doubt? And to quote what JR said, quoting Major League, throw the goddamn heater, Ricky. A promo package with Ruby Soho and Dr. Britt Baker talking about their title match last week, and Ruby says she'll get Britt next time and become the champion sooner than later. On we go to a 16-man tag team match as the HFO take on Orange Cassidy and the Dark Order. The Dark Order have been, ordered by Tony Khan to set aside their differences and band together in this matchup in honor of Brodie Lee. -1 comes out with them, which is great to see. And so the whole story in this match, though, is that the Dark Order is still coming apart at the seams, still a lot of infighting. Alan Angels removes his mask in defiance and throws it at Uno's face before the match even officially gets underway. And then after a point, you've got Evil Uno and Stu Grayson getting to leave the match that's going on. The fans are booing this. Out come Amanda Huber and Anna Jay and Ty Conti in -1, who throws the papers at Uno, shades of his daddy. And they basically convince them to go back there for the good of the team. They get back in there. Everyone gets their shit in. And then Jordan Jolt, who is someone I'd literally never seen until tonight. I don't know when he joined the HFO. I don't know where this guy's from, but he was there, and he took everyone's moves and ended up getting beat. So the Dark Order and Orange Cassidy to win this one. And then, again, you've got Amanda Huber and -1, everyone getting there celebrating. I was afraid that when, all the Brodie gifs we were seeing on social media today, I'm like, they're going to make me cry again, aren't they? I teared up a little bit at the end of this one, I will admit, but it was a nice little tribute to Brodie Lee and a nice kind of story progression for the Dark Order. They all seem to hug it out at the end. Does that mean the friction angle? I can't imagine it's over at this point, but it maybe just kind of put on pause for now. Who's to say? But yes, a very nice tribute match, if a little busy with 16 guys. Well, Lio Rush is officially All Elite. We saw a promo package from him where he calls himself LBO Leo and teaches us about finances briefly, and that's that. So Lio Rush is back. I mean, he was there earlier in the year, but then he got hurt, announced his retirement, is now apparently unretired. Good to see Leo landing on his feet and getting signed, but honestly, I feel like in the last couple of years, we've been seeing a lot of young wrestlers announce their retirement and then unretire. So it kind of in 20 years, how many Terry Funks do you think we're going to see, popping around where everyone's kind of retired and unretired so many times? I'm not knocking Lio Rush for doing that, by the way. I'm just saying that's seems to be a trend I am seeing in wrestling, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of people who are like that kind of down the line. I hope Lio Rush is in it for the long haul, and again, it's good to see him back, and hopefully he'll do great things in AEW. FTR is backstage, and Dax Harwood says he can't make any excuses for their loss to Sting and Darby last week, then proceeds to make some excuses, but he says that from this moment forward, with Tully Blanchard guiding the ship, FTR is going to be revitalized and refocused, which is going to be great news for them and the Pinnacle, and of course we'll see how that goes. And then in the ring, we see Dan Lambert and Men of the Year cutting a promo. Lambert starts things off, talks about how last week on Rampage, Men of the Year and America Top Team beat the hell out of Chris Jericho, and Jorge Masvidal need him in the head to take him out and everything, and says that after what we saw on Rampage, all of those nerds in the crowd will never swing from the balls of Jericho ever again. Scorpio Sky gets on the mic then and puts his accomplishments over. He was one of the first champions in AEW. He grabbed the Sonic ring and became the face of the Revolution, but it still didn't do anything for him. And then Ethan Page says, they're tired of being overlooked, that he's undefeated. He's the tightest tits in the game. And basically, Men of the Year and America Top Team are numero uno, is how they wrap this thing up. I thought it was a pretty strong promo. It's actually my least hated Dan Lambert promo so far in AEW. It's like when he kind of spreads the wealth with a microphone and gets to be a little restrained, I think, in the language. I think it's fine as long as other people are talking as well. A promo package with Hikaru Shida and Serena Deeb, where Shida's coming back to TV next week, and she's going for her 50th win in AEW against Deeb. Should be a great match. By the way, kudos to Shida for the work she's put in to learn English and become very fluent sounding with it, because this is the clearest promo I've heard from her since she's debuted in AEW. So I think she's come a long way with that for sure. And speaking of the ladies, the Bunny and Penelope Ford take on Ty Conti and Anna Jay up next. The story here, it's a grudge match because the ladies of HFO have been using brass knuckles on the ladies of the Dark Order the last couple of weeks. I found that odd though, considering the brass knuckles did not play into this match one iota. Anyway, the match was all right. There was a bit of an awkward cutoff by the heels near the beginning onto Anna Jay near the ropes, but they recovered. A nice run by Ty on her hot tag. In the end, Anna Jay tags back in and puts Ford to kind of a rear naked choke to make her pass out, and she wins for her team. -1 comes back out and celebrates with them. That was very cool to see. Of course, the relationship with Brodie Lee Jr. and Ty Conti has been talked about a lot in the past, so it's nice to see them celebrate. The match itself, it wasn't the best on the night, but again, cool to see a little celebration. A promo package for Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, and Nyla Rose's triple threat match for Friday on Rampage. Then MJF and Wardlow make their way to the ring. MJF talks about the 4 pillars representing the future of AEW for decades to come. Name drops Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and then of course himself as the strongest pillar of all. And he basically alludes to the fact that if he doesn't get what he wants, he threatens to leave AEW. He has Bruce Pritchard on speed dial, and CM Punk with a great comeback saying, everyone's got Bruce Pritchard on speed dial. It's nothing to brag about. But then Darby Allin interrupts, and MJF goes right for the gusto early on, calling him a school shooter with a mile on a skateboard routine. He says, nothing wrong with being number 2. There have been a lot of great number 2s in history, and Darby says, if you don't like it here, not getting your way, you can leave. And Darby says, how can you be the strongest pillar when I'm the one between the two of us who's actually won a championship? Then MJF really twists the dagger by bringing up the car crash that Darby was in as a child, which is basically his origin story of how he became straight edge. He was riding in the car with his, alcoholic uncle and caused a car crash, and the uncle died and everything. So he brings that up, and MJF says the wrong person died, and then Darby kind of takes it in, and he kind of no-sells it. He says that MJF will not break him mentally, so what do you have to say now? So MJF kind of balks at this, and so he and Wardlow end up leaving, and that was the segment. And so I thought it was very strong promo here, and the fact that Darby kind of rejected, he didn't go for the easy bait like that. I thought that was very strong of him in that way. I'm curious to see how MJF responds to this, because the whole thing now is that MJF can't cut Darby down verbally. It's not going to work on him, so he's got to try and be creative in terms of how to possibly attack him physically. I mean, when you've already started out with both barrels and you open with the dead uncle and the car crash card, you're already a pretty high emotional level. So how do you up the ante from a physical standpoint if the words don't hurt Darby? Main event time for the TNT Championship as the undefeated Miro defends against Sammy Guevara of the Inner Circle. Miro overpowers Sammy a lot early on here, catches Guevara mid-shooting star press off the top rope, almost drops him, but he picks him back up for a suplex. Great recovery by both guys there. Sammy looking very valiant, fighting back a lot. At one point he counters Miro coming off the ropes, the standing Spanish fly, throws Miro outside of the ring with a crazy dive over the top rope. He can't get him up for the GTH. He takes a giant kick, but he kicks out. Miro rips off all the turnbuckle pads, and then Fuego del Sol comes out with a distraction. Sammy bonks Miro into one of the turnbuckle pads, hits a tornado DDT, the GTH, and then the 630 to win and become the new TNT champion. So that's the end of Miro's incredible reign as champion. I mean, it's hard to think of a more dominantly booked champion, especially in that company, over the last several months. I think Miro did that belt a great service. I think, his reign, the way he beat Darby Allin for it months ago, the way he's carried himself now, I think he's had a very good reign, and nothing to feel bad for about him losing it. I think he was very well protected to be taking all those different moves at the very end to finally put him away. I think it was very well done. I love a good, well-told big versus little matchup. I think this main event absolutely delivered, and it really legitimized Sammy in a big way. And that was pure babyface adrenaline from the end of that match. And also kind of a bummer, the fact they had to go right to the end of the show. They had no time to soak that in because they had to go to Rhodes the top right afterward. They run a little heavy, but I think it was, great main event, a good story told, and I think a title win for Guevara feels very much overdue at this point. And actually, I'm going to wrap this segment up by playing the way he did the cold open for my AWF video several years ago.
What's going on, everybody? It's Sammy Guevara here. Yes, that's right. Sammy Guevara, one of the hottest young free talent agents of today's professional wrestling world. And if you're not familiar with me, it's okay. Real soon, everybody's going to know. But for now, you are watching Wrestling with Regret.
My grade for this week's Dynamite is a B+. I think it was a very strong showing this week. A couple of matches they did that I could have done without, the only exception being the 6-man tag match, because hey, we saw Anthony Green and I popped big for that. I think they did a very good job, with the tributes to Brodie Lee, not going too over the top. I think it was done very smart here, and I think the show started strong with Cole and Jungle Boy, ended really strong with Miro and Sammy Guevara, and they're also, I told you last week, I like the sizzle. There were a lot of solid promos in this show that I really enjoyed. But what did you think of Dynamite this week, folks? I want to hear what you have to say in the comments section below. I'm Brian Zane, blind no more, and I'll see you next time.